We are lucky enough to have Tom Greenway with us today, the creator of Moonstone. Thank you for joining us, Tom.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure so far. We are going to be having a look at how Moonstone actually works, how the characters work. This is a game that doesn't use dice for anything more than the actual objectives. It's a really interesting system. And we all know people who absolutely hate dice rolls. And we all know
you've only got yourself to blame when you play the wrong cards in Moonstone.
Yeah, there's no blaming the dice gods in this game. There's no entire units failing because you've snake-eyed, which is something that I have to deal with on many of our playthroughs of other games. So, again, great thanks to Tom. He's going to be taking us through the game system itself, how it works, how it plays, because it is really different. And I really want to get across to you guys how enjoyable this is and how different it is. So, without further waffle from myself, once again, thank you, Tom. We've got character cards in front of ourselves because the game revolves around these characters which you have lovingly created to fit into the Moonstone world. Who are we looking at?
So he's going to pick out a couple of basic examples from our starter set.
Yep.
Not that there is a basic example. All the characters are quite dramatically different and varied.
Deeply complex individuals.
They are, yes. In fact, if you look in the rulebook, they've all got a hobbies section. So one of Flint's hobbies is strip tiddlywinks. And
strip tiddlywinks, okay.
And Doug the Flatulent, one of his hobbies is name that smell. So, yeah, they're very deep.
Right.
Very deep.
It's a varied, very cultural world is Moonstone.
But these were the two that, it was a difficult decision, but these are the two we're going to pick out just as example characters.
So Human Sniper.
Human Sniper.
Very cool. And
Goblin Knight.
Goblin Knight. So I'm going to
his noble steed.
Just going to pop them in the clearing there. There's our Flintlock. And there is Doug the Flatulent. And we've got their cards in front of us here, which you'll be able to see as well. Okay.
So, shall I take you through?
Yeah, let's have a look, because these are set up, as you guys can see on screen. You've got the name at the top.
Yep.
Version of the card. So
obviously the name, then the keywords. The keywords don't in themselves have any effect, but lots of other characters' abilities will reference them. So it's a trigger for a lot of the synergies.
And that is all described on these two cards, the actual character card and the actions card. There's no other cards I need, right?
No, you don't need anything else, and you won't even need to pick up the rulebook after the first couple of games. There's no keywords where you have to reference, what does that word mean? Everything is written out in plain English on these two cards, the actions card and then the character card themselves.
And I suppose that, again, is one of the benefits of a card-based game. The cards have the information. You're not going dice roll, oh, what is this modifier, what is that modifier?
Exactly.
Okay.
And our melee system, for example, you flip a card and it says on the cards exactly what happens in that round of melee. There's no looking. I don't think we have a reference table anywhere in the rulebook.
So if you screw up your melee, that's on you. Okay. All right, so let's work our way further down the card. We're looking at Flintlocks. He's got his...
So there are various actions that anyone can perform.
Yep.
And then there are bespoke actions for each character.
Okay.
So if we look at Flintlock's card, the top, you'll see there's 3 different sections to this card divided by horizontal lines.
Yeah.
The top section are called passive abilities.
Okay.
And they're things that are always on. They are not actions.
Right.
So in his case, he has a dagger. If this character deals piercing melee damage, increase the damage by +1.
Because it's a dagger.
Most of the characters have some form of weapon or armour or both that will interact with those melee cards by boosting certain effects.
So those are your modifiers. They're on that character's card.
All the time.
Yeah.
Then the next section is what we call active abilities.
Yeah.
So these are abilities that, just like the 7, they are one of the 7 core abilities. They're simple actions. You pay the energy cost in brackets. Mm-hmm. So, for example, his take aim ability, you can see that in brackets there's a number 1, which means you pay 1 energy.
Yep.
So every character has, in Flintlock's case, he would have 3 energy. You would pay 1 energy. And then you get the effect listed. Increase this character's arcane stat by +1 until the end of turn.
Okay.
So he's done that.
So he's taken a steady aim of his rifle.
Taken an aim. He could have also used his lookout ability. That also costs 1. Mm-hmm. That gives another character -1 evade. That makes them harder to hit.
Okay.
So he's got these kind of actions which are very basic, but they're specifically for him.
Yeah.
And they're called active abilities.
Yeah, because you choose to make them become active.
Yep. And then the final section at the bottom of the card, underneath the line, these are called arcane abilities.
Yeah.
These are easy to spot because they have these coloured icons. So you
Yeah.
can see on this card there is a green X.
There is, yeah.
So this arcane abilities use this. Whenever you use an arcane ability, you use this special arcane card deck.
Yeah.
In Moonstone, people have been using healing spells for thousands of years. It's everyday occurrence. A musket, that's a really new invention. It's really crazy, and most of the peasants wouldn't understand it. So in Moonstone, everything is arcane.
Yeah.
Shooting a musket or doing a fireball, all arcane.
Right.
But it triggers off different colours of cards.
Oh, right, okay. So this is a green X.
So this is a green X.
Yeah.
Now, the Arcane deck is made up of green cards, pink cards, and blue cards, and also these catastrophes.
Yeah.
And within each colour, there is ones,
Yeah.
twos, and threes. There's
Okay.
actually 3 ones, 2 twos, and 1 3. Now, if you were to have a green 2 card,
Yeah.
you would get the effect listed after the green icon in the ability.
Mhm.
So it says green X,
Yeah.
so X is any number, so a
Yeah.
2 would work. Target suffers X plus 2 impact damage.
So 4.
So, so he's shooting his musket.
I can add up.
If you have a green card and
Yep.
you shoot, and you say, I'm doing the shoot musket ability, and
Yep.
you have a green card, and it's a green, then the ability works.
Yeah.
Then you look at the number on it, and that tells you how effective it was. In this case, he would do 4 damage with his musket shot.
Okay.
Now, it's a bit more interesting than that, because you're not just flipping a card off the top of the deck.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that would be an awful lot like rolling a dice.
Yes, it would.
So the way it actually works is the flintlock player draws a number of arcane cards equal to his arcane stat.
So 3.
So this is 3, so I'll give him a good shuffle so you know I'm not cheating.
For the purpose of a demo, I wouldn't mind. But hey, let's go real.
Okay, right, so 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Well, I've secretly marked them, you see. I haven't. Just noticed the speck of dust.
That was a critical fail.
So the the flintlock player draws a hand of 3 cards. Now, I know what I've got in here.
Yeah.
You don't. Let's say I'm shooting at you. Let's say I'm
Okay.
shooting at Doug. The number of cards I draw is equal to the arcane stat, but it's modified by your opponent's evade stat.
0.
0. So I get my full hand of 3 cards. Now, you as the person being shot at will
Yeah.
get what's called a resist hand, which is 6 cards.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's
6.
always 6 cards.
Okay.
Now, you know that I'm looking for a green card in order for this ability to work.
Right.
And you know that in the deck there are 3 green 1s,
Yeah.
2 green 2s, and 1 green 3.
Right.
Now I'm going to choose from my hand. If I want, I don't have to play. Once I've spent the energy, I can just go, no, discard my hand.
It's terrible.
If I choose to play, I can choose 1 card from my hand,
Yeah.
put it face down,
Yeah.
and then I say that I have a green 1.
Right.
Now you know that would do 1 plus 2, X plus 2, 3 impact damage, so I'd hit you for 3.
Right. Okay.
And this is a bluffing mechanic.
Yeah. I see where this is going.
So you have to either accept my green 1,
Yeah.
you have to say, okay, in which case, and don't reveal the card, you just take the 3 damage,
Yeah.
or you have to call a bluff.
Right.
If you call a bluff, I have to reveal the card.
Okay.
If I reveal the card,
Yeah.
and if I was telling the truth, I get to play again with the remaining
So
cards.
you
in
get
my
a
hand.
follow-up shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I was lying,
Yep.
you can swap my card for one of the ones in your hand.
Right. Which could be the green one.
It could be.
rather than your green.
Yeah. Let's say I had said a green 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's currently doing 5 damage.
Yeah.
You could replace it with a green 1 that now does 3 damage. Or you could replace it with a blue card which does nothing because this ability only triggers off greens.
Right.
Or if you're lucky enough to have a catastrophe card in your hand,
Right.
you could swap my card for your catastrophe and then I'd have to suffer the catastrophe effect. This model suffers 2 wounds and the reload ability cannot be used for the remainder of the game.
So his gun is backfired.
His gun explodes.
Basically. Right.
So, I've got a green 1. You're going to take 3 damage.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that I don't have a catastrophe card to replace your card with, and I've only got blues and purples. So I don't know whether you're lying or not anyway. So I will take the 3 damage.
Okay.
Now, how did you do?
You will never know. No, I will tell you. I did have a green 1.
Yeah.
And had you have called my bluff,
Yeah.
I would have followed up with another green 1, so you'd have taken double damage.
Right.
So you were right to just accept it in that case.
Rather than take the chance.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I had no way of knowing with that hand.
No.
You said you weren't going to rig it. There you go.
Well, you never know when people are telling the truth in Moonstone.
So that's cool. So that's how all spellcasting.
That's all spellcasting and all ranged attacks and things
That
are resolved.
Okay. And Flintlock, he doesn't really do much else other than shoot. I say like I'm giving him not the credit that he deserves.
Yeah.
He shoots well.
He shoots well, but he is a dedicated shooter. He's got long range. It hits quite hard. He has some support abilities in terms of increasing the effectiveness of his shot. I should have drawn an extra card then because I took aim. Or protecting friendlies. And he can always run up and shank people with his dagger.
Okay, so working further down the card then, those actions cost so many action points. After all of those abilities, you have what is their health tracker at the bottom. Yeah. And Flintlocks in this case has, starting from right, working to the left, 3 empty circles, 1 blue, 2 empty, 2 blue.
Yeah.
Now those are his action points. The blue ones, once the health is whittled down and they get knocked off, he loses those action points, yeah?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so the reload ability, that named ability can be used again. The ability can be used. So, in terms of your turn, can you not do the same action more than once?
You can do the same action as many times as you like, unless it says once per turn or once per game.
Yeah.
So the shoot musket ability, it only costs 1 energy. It's not that difficult to fire the musket.
Yeah.
But it's once per game unless reloaded.
Right, okay.
So once you've fired the musket,
you have to reload.
You can spend 2 energy to reload.
Yeah.
In which case you can fire it again.
So that's his built-in mechanic of him being every game he can fire and then reload.
Yeah. So every turn, with his basic energy allowance of 3, he can fire and reload.
So he's quite fragile because once he's lost that third one,
he's lost that one.
It's going to take him 2 turns to shoot.
Now there are ways of increasing people's energy, manipulating energy. Eric the Squire, for example, has got the My Hero ability that would give him an extra energy, so he can be helped out. But also, if he's, let's say he's used his take aim ability, he wouldn't have enough energy to then reload, so he's taken a bit more time over a careful shot.
Right, that makes sense. That's really interesting. So, and there's Eric the Squire over there coming in to the rescue with his wooden training sword. And
he's not trusted with a sharp one.
There's extra equipment there to just help Flintlock with his reload. I don't think I've ever picked a model up so carefully.
They're nice, aren't they?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay, so that takes us through Flintlock's entire card. Let's have a look at Doug, because he's a very different character.
He is, completely different. So Doug whereas Flintlock is a bit of a specialist, a sniper, Doug is a hell of an all-rounder.
Yeah.
So we'll start at the top. We didn't go through the stats actually on the previous.
That's okay.
card.
Doug can be our
yeah. We'll talk about stats. So the melee stat of 4. This is how many melee cards you draw when you're performing a melee exchange.
Okay.
Obviously, the higher the number of cards, the more options you have, and the more damage you can do.
So what's the sort of range of cards? We've got Goblin Doug on his pug.
Yeah.
With 4. What like Gotchgut?
Gotchgut has got 3.
Okay.
Melee of 3, and so he hits really hard. He's got damage buffs, but he doesn't. So the melee stat is how skillful you are.
It's more like their finesse. Yeah.
So the fairy that's called the Fencer has a melee stat of 6, which is currently the highest in the game.
There's some very cool fairy. That's a very cool model, and a wasp is a very cool fairy model.
Yeah.
Reminds me of the character from A Bug's Life.
Yeah. I may have screenshotted that when I was designing him.
You can definitely see where, with the character design, there's some inspiration come from. I won't point all of them out, but they're awesome.
And that's not anything, that we hide. We're inspired by movies and books and,
as
and
everyone
TV,
is, anyone who is
and
gonna do that,
hopefully it resonates with people because they go, I like that character.
Well, I looked at the trolls when I was picking up some trolls, and I was going to get Bristlenose, and then I thought, no, I'm going to get the Labyrinth troll.
Yeah. And he actually has an ability called Stone Song where he can bring himself out of the ground. So you know.
It's a homage, that's what it is as well, a tribute, if you like, to...
So the melee stat is how skillful they are.
Yeah.
So Boulder has only got a melee stat of 2, but he's got these big lumpen fists, so he does hit quite hard if he actually gets through. Melee stat of 4 is typical for a moderate melee character.
Mm-hmm.
He has an impressive melee range of 3, which means he can attack people up to 3 inches away, but it also means you can use him to guard moonstones because people won't dig up moonstones once they're engaged.
And that's because he's a lancer.
He's got a big long lance. Yeah. Now, he can do a safe pokey attack with his lance at 3 inches, or as we'll see in a bit as we move down the card, he can do a charge, which will bring him smashing into someone, which will make a much more effective attack, but they'll then be able to hit back because he'll definitely bring himself within the melee range of the opponent with his charge.
Okay, so that comes as an arcane then. Move this model directly towards...
Active ability.
Oh, sorry, it hasn't got the coloured.
That's right,
mark. He has no arcane.
He has no arcane and he has no evade. He's an averagely difficult to hit character. So if we look at his static abilities, his passive abilities, at the top, he's got a lance. If you deal slicing melee damage, reduce it to 0. You can't slice somebody very well with a lance.
No.
However, if he deals piercing melee damage, you increase the damage by +1.
Right.
This is a lot like the dagger. You know, he has a shield. Reduce piercing and impact damage by -1.
Okay.
Sometimes come into play in the melee. And then he has the digger ability. If this character takes a harvest action, so ordinarily, in order to pick up moonstones, if you're in base contact with them, you spend 1 energy and you drop the moonstone's value down by 1. If it's already showing a 1, you pick it up.
Okay.
Doug doesn't do that. He has to flip an arcane card instead. Okay. And he reduces, because obviously the dog is quite good at digging. The dog will reduce the moonstone by the amount that you flip. So in this case, it's only a 1. Okay. So it would be exactly the same as anyone else. However, sometimes he'll dig more effectively, and sometimes he'll flip one of our catastrophe cards.
Yeah, I just read what happened.
And his name starts to make sense because he... Doug the Flatulent causes 2 magical damage to everyone within a 3-inch pulse.
Too excited with his digging.
Too excited with his digging. So, in a similar vein, he has his next ability, which is an active ability, which will cost him 2 energy. It's called Foul Gases. All models within the pulse suffer 2 magical damage.
I assume he doesn't damage himself, though.
He does damage himself.
He does, okay.
Yeah, all models.
All models, yeah.
So this can be very useful for finishing off fairies that are normally very evasive and don't have too many wounds, or characters in full plate armour like Baron von Fancy.
Yeah, because it's a 2-inch pulse.
2-inch and it's magical damage. So a lot of armours will reduce impact damage or piercing damage, or in the case of full plate armour, all of the damages apart from magical. So sometimes it's a good way of damaging people that are otherwise hard to damage.
You can't step out of that if he's in melee.
No.
The step is only 1 inch.
Yeah, you can just run in and fart on people, and that is... I like to say that the humans in Moonstone are a very point and click. You run them at people and you can rely on their good wounds and their good statistics and their good weapons and armour. The goblins, not so much. The goblins will always lose a fair fight, but they never have a fair fight. So they have various ways of getting around the normal rules, and these kind of pulse magical attacks is one, and these long melee ranges is another.
Yeah, you can really start to stack up the crossing of the pulses and things.
You can, yeah.
Okay, so that brings me back, before we skip any further, to the actions, because I mentioned stepping away as well. So let's finish off with looking at the card on the charge and stuff, and then let's skip back to the actions, because I've kind of gone back and forth.
Yeah, sure. So his final active ability is a charge. He can target an enemy within 6 inches, and he moves 4 inches directly towards them.
Yeah.
So that will bring him anywhere from 2 inches to base contact, depending on how far
it's
away
going
he
to bring
was
him
to
within
begin with.
lancing range.
But most people will then get to strike back if he's moved within their melee range. And if he does that, it's more efficient. He gets more movement because it costs 2 energy and you move 4 inches, which is normally more efficient than using your energy to step. And he gets to do +2 damage on his next melee attack.
Right. And that can bring you into lancing range then, because even if you're 6 inches away...
Yeah, he will definitely be able to hit. Always. And critically, it brings the dog into action.
Okay.
One thing that I haven't mentioned at all yet, and I'll just mention very briefly, but we might cover in more depth later, is in melee there are various different kinds of attacks that you can do.
Yeah.
Every character has what's called a signature move,
Okay.
which is an upgrade to one of the attacks.
Oh, right, it's on the reverse of the card.
It's on the reverse of the card.
Yeah.
So his signature move is on a rising attack. If he does a rising attack and he's within 1 inch, he can upgrade it to the ankle biter signature move, which does a lot more damage.
Yes, and that's Pug.
Yeah, so another reason why you might want to charge, as well as doing +2 damage,
Yeah.
it also means you've now got the bonuses of the dog attacking as well.
Right. And then when we talk about combat in a moment, you'll see how that can also be, if you know that's going to happen, you know it's a rising attack.
Yeah.
So there's a really interesting combat mechanic which we'll touch on in a second.
And that will be really upsetting because he's stacked it here now. He's done the charge. He's got his +2 damage. He's brought the dog into play.
Yeah.
But if you play the right card against me, having predicted what I'm going to do, you can turn the tables completely.
Right. Okay. Interesting one. Interesting, because he still gets a plus if he was to be doing a piercing attack because of who he is.
Yeah.
But then the ankle bite is pretty special.
That's right. So his rising attack on the charge is a double threat because he can either hit you with the lance and get his piercing bonus, or bite you with the dog.
So you kind of got to work out which. That's nice because which is he going to use? Which is he going to use? And like we said, you'll understand that in a moment. Let's run really quickly through the actions because these are very simple. They're what they say on the card. Attacking is like your active abilities, your arcane abilities, digging up moonstones. Kind of touched on that.
Yeah, so a lot of the abilities are very simple. You pay an energy cost and you do what it says.
Yeah.
You know, you move an inch, pay an energy, that's a step action.
So the jog is always free. Your first 4-inch move is always free.
It doesn't have to be at the start. You might, let's say you're engaged by someone and you can't do a jog away.
Right, yeah.
You might choose to spend some energy stepping away.
Yeah.
You wait to see if they react to follow you in. You're not going to follow me? Okay, right, now I'll jog away.
Okay.
So you can do any of the actions in any order.
So you could fight, step, run.
You could
step, fight, run.
Anything you like.
To get within.
You could, let's say you've got a weapon like a musket that you can't fire whilst you're engaged, or a bow.
Yeah.
You might step away. You're forcing your opponent to waste their energy by following you,
to keep it,
because otherwise you're going to shoot them. There's an awful lot of that sort of.
Any weapons base contact only?
No.
They're all 1 inch to distance.
Yeah, so...
which adds the dynamics of it, I suppose.
Yeah, so melee ranges in Moonstone are comparatively long. You have 1 inch, 2 inch and 3 inch.
Yeah.
So on a 3x3 board, a 3-inch melee range is actually quite a big part of the board, which means there's a lot of interactivity amongst lots of models when they are starting to get close together. Which
is nice, I like it. I also don't like always having to bump into melee contact because I have fat hands. I smash things over.
Now you will sometimes go base to base because if you've gone base to base with someone and they spend their energy to step away,
you want them to
you're still within precisely 1 inch. So it has its uses, but
so that adds another dynamic to it anyway by having that, because you can choose to position where you can move, or because you might want to be moving away rather than just them for their next turn. So there's plenty. Okay. So let's look at the actual melee combat actions now and how that system works.
Yep.
Because this is what I've been alluding to quite a lot when talking about Moonstone, is how different this is to just, hey, I hit you. Oh, no, I didn't.
Exactly. So we have a melee deck, which has 4 different kinds of combat move that you can do. The standard ones I mentioned earlier. There are also signature moves where you can upgrade your chosen card into a better version of it. But by default, there are 6 different combat moves that are falling swing, thrust, rising attack, and then on the more defensive side, you've got a high guard, a sweeping cut, and a low guard. Okay. So you have an offensive and a defensive card at each of the high, middle and low. Yeah. And they resolve against one another the information on the card tells you exactly how they resolve once you reveal them.
So your choice, you come into combat with somebody and you make a choice, as you would, to hit someone high, low, or in the middle.
Yep. That's right.
As you would in Tekken or Street Fighter.
And at the same time, your opponent is making their own choice. They might defend high, or they might attack low. You know.
Do the block. Do the block high. Do the block low, which can lead to more things happening if you get your block perfect on certain guards.
Yeah. If you choose the defense that's at the corresponding height, not only do you reduce all of the incoming damage, you get to now do a free hit. So you get to play another card of your own against your opponent's card, and it's only the deal damage. You don't suffer any damage on the follow-up. Yeah.
So this is an interesting mechanic as well. If we both go into combat, we both play a card against each other. We don't know what it is. We play it face down. And we both hit each other.
You both hit each other. It's not just the attacker that can deal damage. Now,
and it's done simultaneously.
It's done simultaneously. Now, obviously, the attacker, being the active player, is controlling the distance a bit better.
Right, yep.
Because it's their turn, so they get to decide how close to jog in.
Yep.
And they get a bonus 2 cards, because they're the ones spending the energy, they've put the impetus in initiating the attack. Small bonuses to being an attacker. The idea is not that anyone can attack anyone. The idea is choosing your battles. You're not going to want to run your fairy healer into a werewolf,
because they're going to be hit back and probably smashed.
Exactly.
And are there? It's dynamic, isn't it? So even if I try and bring my fairy healer up to hit your werewolf in the back, he's still going to claw me.
Exactly right. Yeah, we don't have facing.
Which is great because
it's
dynamic.
The aim was to streamline everything that can be streamlined, so that you can get the depth in the areas that you want it.
And I think with a skirmish game like this, that makes sense. Like you say, it's fluid, it's dynamic. They're moving around at the same time. If a fairy buzzes up next to me, I'm going to just backhand it away, right? So,
exactly right.
Touch wood, I've never fought a fairy before. I think that's what
maybe today.
Maybe. So the card mechanic system is really interesting, and we're going to have a proper look at how that works in an actual playthrough of one of the rounds. So I'm throwing the gauntlet down, or the silken glove, I suppose, to Sam, and I'm going to bring him in and have a little game with Moonstone with Sam.
Sounds good.
Yeah, under your expert guidance.